So fast forward again to spring of 2018. I was reading some materials that the Veterans Association had sent my dad, your great-grandfather, relative to a claim that he had filed with the VA for some issues and some experiences that he had when he was in the Air Force and spent a little time in Vietnam. As I was reading the materials that the VA had sent him, I was stunned to see that there was a portion of these materials that spoke to the water contamination issue at Camp Lejeune, which up until that point I was completely unaware of. The material stated that there were 15 serious health issues that had been scientifically and medically proven to be associated with the water contamination. One of the 15 health issues was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which was what I was diagnosed with. So I was stunned with that. It took me a little while to process and to digest that. So I decided to file a claim with the VA to see if they could determine was there a connection. So I filed the claim with the VA, and it took about 6 or 7 months for them to finally reach a decision on my claim. Now, to correlate the exposure to the water, the contaminated water, to any one of these health issues, including my non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, it had been determined that one had to be exposed to this contaminated water for 30 days. Either 30 days consecutively, but it didn't have to be consecutive. It could be spread over a period of time, but cumulatively 30 days. So the VA, in their investigation into my claim, as they looked into it, they were not able to determine if I had had the 30 days required to satisfy submitting a claim. So they ultimately denied my claim.
Because they couldn't find the documents that had you enlisted there and sent there. And
that supported me being there for 30 days, which is fine. Now, that said, I don't know that we would ever be able to ultimately or definitively determine that my cancer, my non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, was related to the contaminated water, or was it just a luck of the draw? We don't know that. However, what I would say is that in the course of this journey, if you will, I did come into contact with other individuals who did have some issues with the contaminated water, and how it affected their lives. One individual in particular was a result of the VA's setting up an appointment for me with an audiologist to check my hearing because there were some related issues. Turned out that the audiologist who examined me was a former Marine who had been stationed at Camp Lejeune during this period of the contaminated water. And we talked about it for a short while. And he said that while he had not experienced any symptoms that he could relate to any of these 15 health issues, every time he had a health issue to come up, he immediately related it back to the water contamination at Camp Lejeune. So while it may not have been a constant or daily thought that was present in his mind, whenever he did have some medical issue, a health issue, it was an immediate thought that he had that he might need to check, depending on how severe his issue was. So it's affected him indirectly. He doesn't have any evidence of a health issue related to that, but it has affected his mental or his emotional state. That affects him when he does have something come up. Another indirect consequence of this that I found was during the course of this investigation by the VA, I just, by happenstance, ran into a lady and met this lady just in a casual conversation where I found out that she worked at the cancer clinic of Baptist Hospital in Winston-Salem, where I had been treated and had received my bone marrow transplant. And she worked in that clinic and obviously came into contact with a number of different cancer patients, one of whom she specifically remembered was a former service member who had been stationed at Camp Lejeune during this period of the water contamination. He had undergone a bone marrow transplant because of breast cancer. He did not survive the treatment, and he passed away. So those experiences, while we can't definitively, as I said, make the connection between my time at Camp Lejeune and my subsequent health issue, we can't make that connection. But I've run into these two individuals that do have a direct connection and how it's affected this one individual's state of mind, that the alarm bells start ringing in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
Is this related to the time I was in Camp Lejeune? And then the unfortunate passing of the one individual who was exposed, contracted breast cancer, which is one of the 15 health issues cited as being a direct result of the water contamination and that exposure.
Yeah, and even with your battle with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, it may not, they said no to the correlation because of unfound documents or unknown time periods, just because of papers that they can't find, not
Correct.
because of hard facts that they said no, toss it out, but saying we can't find it, I'm sorry.
That's right.
So
That's correct.
it's not a definite yes or no, but I'm sorry, we don't know.
Right, and there's an appeal process that I will likely pursue, so that perhaps they can dig a little deeper into surface records to see if they can find something that would support that. But bottom line is, whether they do or not, that's okay by me. I'm fine with that. I am more thankful and feel blessed that today, 22 years following my bone marrow transplant, that I'm here able to have this conversation with you.
Well, I feel more blessed because all this happened, while I was still not here yet.
That's
it
right.
was just
That's right.
when my older brother Drake was born.
Just as he was born.
So this
That's
was
correct.
something that he didn't even really get to experience. So I know you've definitely blessed our lives.
Yes,
So.
I was undergoing treatment when he was born.
Yes,
So.
exactly. So, well, thank you, Grandpa, and
Well, thank you.
for telling your story. It's not
Well,
easy, but
Well,
thank
thank
you
you.
for doing it.
Thank you, and good luck with this.
Well,
And I
thank
love you.
Love you too.